The following slides were used to supplement a public oral presentation for potential NEH applicants to the Awards for Faculty at HBCU's program. They're not intended to provide complete information about the program, and they do not constitute an official statement of NEH policy. For current information about this NEH program, including eligibility requirements and the dates of deadlines, please consult the Notice of Funding Opportunity posted on the NEH website at the address listed here. Hello, thank you for joining us for this webinar about the National Endowment for the Humanities Awards for Faculty at Historically Black Colleges and Universities program. This is an opportunity to find out more about the Awards for Faculty at HBCU's program. The Notice of Funding Opportunity is posted, and applications can now be submitted. The deadline is April 10, 2024. Notifications will be made in late December 2024 for projects starting on January 1st, 2025 or later. A quick introduction. I'm Mary Macklem, a Program Officer in the NEH Division of Research Programs and the lead for the 3 Awards for Faculty programs. My colleagues Jacob Lusk and Carson Sayre, Program Analysts in the Division of Research, also work with the program. We are here to answer your questions about the program, and if you have any questions about it, please reach out to us at facultyawards@neh.gov at any time. We will be offering 2 live question and answer sessions in 2024. These are currently scheduled for Thursday, January 25th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Tuesday, February 27th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register for one or both of these sessions, and you'll find the link to join at the NEH website. Links will be posted on the Awards for Faculty at HBCU's program page. Please check the program page for any updates or changes and to register for one or both Q&A sessions. On this slide, you'll see a link to the NEH Awards for Faculty program page on the NEH website. The web address appears at the bottom of the screen, and there's also a QR code that will take you directly to the web page. Every grant opportunity at NEH has a program page where you'll find an overview of the program, a list of important dates such as draft deadlines and application deadlines, and additional links with more information. This slide again shows the Awards for Faculty at HBCU's program page and some of the available resources it provides, along with the same web link from the preceding slide. The Notice of Funding Opportunity for this program appears on this page under Step 1. Everything that I speak about in the webinar today comes directly from the Notice of Funding Opportunity. We recommend that you read the entire document in full, as it provides information about every aspect of the program, such as eligibility, funding amounts, project types, what you need to prepare in order to apply, and how to submit your application. Further down on the Awards for Faculty program page, you will find additional resources. We have an FAQ as well as a link to projects funded through this program so that you can get a sense of the types of projects that have been successful. You'll also find several application narratives. These narratives and bibliographies are not meant to be an exact model of what you should prepare in order to apply, but rather a collection of examples showing the many and diverse ways that applicants from a range of fields in the humanities have crafted a successful application. Each of these applications received funding. To the right of the page, you will see the grant snapshot, which gives you information about the types of projects that can be supported, the funding amounts, the period of performance, and key dates. I highlight in yellow 2 dates I particularly wanted to draw your attention to. The first is the draft deadline, which allows you to submit a draft narrative and work plan for staff feedback if emailed to the facultyawards@neh.gov email box not later than February 7th, 2024, and the program deadline, which is April 10th, 2024 this year. Submitting a draft is optional and has no bearing on the competition itself, but may provide you with helpful feedback on your application materials. Here is an overview of the webinar. I will start by giving an overview of the program, address who's eligible to apply to the program, address the scope of the program, provide guidance on the types of projects the program can support, give examples of some previously supported projects, take a look at additional program details and address how reviewers will assess your application, and then describe the contents of an application. At the end of the webinar, I'll address how to submit your application through grants.gov. If you find you have questions about any of the webinar content, please feel free to reach out to us at the Faculty Awards at NEH.gov email address. You can also attend one of the Q&A sessions to be held in January and February. First, let's take a look at what the Awards for Faculty program is. The program seeks to strengthen HBCUs by encouraging and expanding humanities research opportunities for individual faculty and staff members. Awards support individuals pursuing scholarly research that's of value to humanities scholars, students, and/or general audiences. So the program is focused on humanities research conducted by individuals. To support faculty and staff at HBCUs, the program is designed to be flexible in both project types and award periods. You can apply to do humanities research in support of a wide range of outcomes, such as a book project, an institutional goal or interest, or an undergraduate course revision. And you can adapt the NEH work period to fit with your other institutional responsibilities. You can apply to work between half-time and full-time on the NEH project, or in combination, and I'll say more about these aspects later in the presentation. Now let's look at eligibility requirements. All full-time, part-time, adjunct, and retired faculty and/or staff affiliated with an HBCU are eligible. You can consult the White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity through Historically Black Colleges and Universities for a definition and links to the institutions. The program is open to U.S. citizens and to foreign nationals who have been living in the U.S. for the 3 years preceding the April 10, 2024 application deadline. No advanced degree is required. However, you may not be currently enrolled in a degree program. If you have satisfied all the requirements for a degree and are only awaiting its conferral, you may apply. However, you must include a letter from the dean of the conferring school or your department chair attesting to your status as of the application deadline, April 10, 2024. You can find out more about eligibility in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, Section C. What is the scope of the program? It's important to know that this program supports humanities research in all areas of the humanities, regardless of geographic or chronological focus. If you are working at an HBCU, for example, your project could stem from any humanities field and topic of interest. While your research might relate to your institution's mission or goals, it does not have to do so. In a recent award cycle, for example, the NEH funded projects in the areas of African American history, film studies, British literature, and art history. Projects can be designed for various audiences, whether other scholars, undergraduate students, or the general public. Remember that this program supports individuals conducting humanities research. NEH has additional programs for 2 or more individuals working together, and for projects more focused on humanities pedagogy or curriculum development. You can reach out to us at the Faculty Awards at NEH.gov email box if you have questions about whether your project fits best with this program or another NEH program. Because this program supports individual researchers, please be aware that funds go directly to the individual faculty or staff member. Awards support between 2 to 12 months full-time equivalent. You can opt to work part-time. The award amount is $5,000 per full-time month, up to $60,000. Your period of performance must be continuous. No cost sharing is required, and no indirect costs are allowed. So, given the scope of the program regarding research and the humanities, I wanted to give you some additional context about how NEH defines the humanities. Our definition begins with the agency's founding legislation. The NEH and the NEA were created by Congress in 1965. The humanities fields on this slide come from the National Foundation on the Arts and Humanities Act of 1965, and it reads as follows. Quote, "The term humanities includes, but is not limited to, the study of the following: language, both modern and classical, linguistics, literature, history, jurisprudence, philosophy, archaeology, comparative religion, ethics, the history, criticism, and theory of the arts, those aspects of social sciences which have humanistic content and employ humanistic methods, and the study and application of the humanities to the human environment, with particular attention to reflecting our diverse heritage, traditions, and history, and to the relevance of the humanities to the current conditions of national life." A bit more about project types. As I mentioned previously, a key feature of this program is flexibility in project types and work plans. Let's look at the types of projects that the program can support. You'll notice from this list that all projects must be based on humanities research in literature, philosophy, history, and so forth, the disciplines indicated in the earlier slide. However, humanities research can support a variety of project goals and outcomes. Like the NEH Fellowships program, with which some of you might be familiar, this program supports research in primary and secondary materials, leading to the development of books, peer-reviewed articles, digital materials, translations with annotations, and other scholarly resources. However, projects can also support institutional or community goals or interests and draw on institutional or community archival collections. Or projects can improve an existing undergraduate course revision, including the development of humanities resources, for example, oral histories, identification and preparation of previously unavailable primary sources, or newly compiled historical or literary collections. Please note that this program does not support development of new courses. The course must have been taught previously. Also, only undergraduate course revisions, not graduate, can be supported through this NEH program. Lastly, research can lead to digital or web-based products intended to supplement a course revision or publication project. So here are some examples. A faculty or staff member might collect oral histories in order to develop scholarly tools such as language dictionaries or databases, or to contribute to an undergraduate course revision. Or a faculty or staff member might use the unique archives of a university for a project with an institutional goal or interest. In recent competitions, for example, the program funded a scholar doing research on minority health and urban design in Baltimore since 1900, which led to the revision of an undergraduate course at Howard University and a peer-reviewed article. Other recently funded projects included a book about U.S. Cold War strategy in Africa from a scholar in North Carolina Central University, and a book about female solidarity in Victorian literature from a scholar at Prairie View A&M, just to give you an idea of the range of projects that we tend to see in this program. If you have questions about a project idea and whether it fits the goals of the program, please don't forget you can contact us at facultyawards@neh.gov or call us 202-606-8200. Again, as I mentioned previously, the program supports a wide range of projects, all founded on humanities research. A wide range of humanities research methods and activities can be supported, including archival research in local or distant repositories, the collection and interpretation of oral histories, and ethnography. Or you might be working from a home or university office on editing, writing, and revision. Looking now at the print and digital products, the outcome of award support. Undergraduate course revisions could result, as I mentioned, as could articles, monographs, translations, editions, and other interpretive tools. For course revision projects, you might devise a way to disseminate the project more broadly, whether for other course sections on campus or to other universities. Products centered on community or institutional goals might result in other types of print or digital materials. One example might be research and writing of an exhibition catalog for an art historical exhibit on campus. In fact, the program recently funded a project like this. To give you additional ideas of the types of projects that have been funded by the program, here are 3 recent books whose authors received support through the program. The first book, authored by Robin Runia of Xavier University of Louisiana, is a historical and literary study of Anglo-Irish writer Maria Edgeworth and her views of race and national identity. Professor Runia is a professor of English and received 13 months of part-time support for writing 2 chapters of the book. The second is an art historical study by Professor Courtney Mycotts, a professor of art history at Florida A&M University. The book focuses on the history and culture of Kakamotobi, a West African carnival, from 1899 to the present. Professor Mycotts received 7 months of both part-time and full-time support for her work on the project. The third book, Civil Wars, Civil Beans, and Civil Rights in Alabama's Black Belt, was authored by Bertus D. English, a professor of history at Alabama A&M. Professor English received part-time support over 12 months to complete archival research and writing. Given the flexibility of project types funded in this program, I have not pictured here, but just want to remind you of the possibility of humanities research leading to other types of products, not only book projects. In recent years, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the program supported projects leading to undergraduate course revisions, peer-reviewed articles, and projects supporting institutional or community goals. You can look at the recently funded projects link on the program page to see the range of projects that have been supported. Here are some important dates for the program this year. NEH staff will read and respond to draft narratives. Draft narratives must follow the format specified in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, Section D, and drafts must be submitted to the Faculty Awards at NEH.gov email no later than February 7th, 2024. The program deadline for applications is April 10th, 2024. The notebook explains how to submit your completed application package through grants.gov. Be sure to allow enough time for any technical difficulties or other issues. We recommend submitting well before the deadline in case of any difficulties. Late applications will not be reviewed. Decisions will be announced December 2024, and the earliest possible start date for projects is January 1st, 2025. You can wait to begin your project, however, all the way up until September 1st, 2026, so you have a large window of time. Here is a slide with the criteria for the program. These criteria appear in Section E of the Notice of Funding Opportunity, and you should keep these prominently in mind when writing your proposals. All reviewers will assess your project using these criteria and only these criteria. Grant writing's its own form, so don't forget you can consult the sample application narratives on the program page to see how other applicants have addressed the criteria. The first criterion pertains to the intellectual significance of the project for the humanities. Tell your reader what your project is about and why it's important. You should explain what it will contribute to your specific field in a way that a humanities generalist can understand, and you should also situate your project in the broader context of humanities research and knowledge. What is the state of the field on this topic, and how will your project contribute to it? Criterion 2 considers the quality of the conception, definition, organization, and description of the project, and the clarity of expression. Generally, peer reviewers find that a well-written, clear application is a predictor of the quality of the planned publication, so writing a good abstract and narrative is important. Propose specific research questions and explain the methods, concepts, and approaches you will pursue to address them. Criterion 3 is about the work plan and its feasibility. In Attachment 2, you should provide a detailed work plan broken into 2 to 3 month segments. This can be a chart, a list, or a narrative, but make sure it is clear. Your work plan should clearly state whether you are seeking part-time, full-time, or a combination of support. Don't forget that your work plan must be continuous. Criterion 4 asks reviewers to consider the applicant's preparation for the project. If a new research area for you, explain how you came to it and your skills for doing so. Be sure to address your language competencies, knowledge of archives, and any digital skills and knowledge that you need for the project. The last criterion considers the likelihood that the project will be completed and the dissemination and access plans. Mention the expected publication and other outcomes of the project. If you're proposing a book project, consider providing a description of the book, such as the chapters and so forth. If you have a publisher or series in mind, you can mention this specifically. And if you're proposing an article project, indicate the likely length of the article and possible venues for publication. If you're proposing a course revision project, indicate when you expect to teach the revised course and how you plan to disseminate your research results. Here is a list of the items you will need to submit by the April 10th, 2024 deadline. This table appears in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. In yellow, I have highlighted the application component, and you can use this as a sort of checklist in consultation with the NOFO. The next column indicates how to name your files, and the third column indicates if the item is required, recommended, or conditionally required. Please pay close attention to these so that your application is complete and can go through review. The last column refers to page limits. Notice that we have mandatory limits for several of the attachments. Do not go beyond the allowable page numbers, even just by a line. Please remember that applications that exceed page limits or violate format instructions will be considered non-responsive and will be rejected from further consideration. You will also see that there are grants.gov forms as well as attachments. You can write and assemble all of the attachments in advance, offline if you wish. The grants.gov forms, however, will need to be completed in grants.gov, and you will attach the attachments to the grants.gov form that's called attachments form. Don't forget that files must be PDFs or they will be rejected. Now let's take a look at some of the required attachments. Attachment 1 is the narrative. What should it include? This document explains your project to reviewers, and the narrative should address 4 areas which are described in the NOFO. You'll notice that these pertain to the criteria for the program: significance and contribution, organization and methods, competencies, skills and access, final product, and dissemination. For the significance, it's very important to make this case. Identify the audience for your project and explain why it's significant to the humanities. State your thesis. Provide the scholarly context. What work has already been done on the topic, and what is the state of the research? How will your work contribute? Will it build on, disagree with, or provide a new interpretation? If you're proposing an undergraduate course revision, explain how the research relates to revising the course, such as the readings and methodologies. Address the significance of the course in your teaching and for your institution. Also provide information on how many times the course has been offered, the number of students typically enrolled, and so forth. When possible, explain the broader significance of the project beyond the individual course. For the organization and methodology section, explain concepts and terminology and how the final project will be organized. If you're proposing a book project, you can provide a brief chapter outline. If you're proposing a dissertation revision, remember that you must state this in the narrative. You must also explain how the project moves beyond the dissertation, whether with new chapters, new primary sources, new research, and so forth. Also provide information about the methodologies that your research employs. The third section, competencies, skills, and access. Address your level of competence in any language, skills, or digital technology needed for the project. Also address any arrangements you've made or will need to make in order to access archives, collections, institutions, and so on. Lastly, you should describe the final product and dissemination plans. How will you reach the audience that you intend to reach? How will your project results be disseminated? Provide a URL if there is a website. In the case of a course revision project, explain if there are plans to expand the number of sections offered, replicate the course on other campuses, or otherwise disseminate the results more broadly. The work plan is also a required attachment, Attachment 2. In this attachment, provide a schedule for the period of performance. Explain the tasks you plan to accomplish as well as the timeline. State clearly whether you plan to work part-time, full-time, or in some combination. You can present your work plan as a table, a chart, a list, or in prose. However, you must not exceed a single page. As I mentioned earlier, a key feature of the program is flexibility, so that you can continue to teach or do administrative work as well as your work on the NEH-funded project if you wish. In the Awards for Faculty program, applicants may work between half-time and full-time on a project or in combination, but the period of performance must be continuous. The award tenure is between 2 to 12 months full-time equivalent. If you're proposing part-time work, it's therefore especially important that you specify the fraction of time you will devote to the project, such as half-time or 3/4 time, and indicate if you will receive course releases. Part-time work is defined by NEH as at least 50% of your normal schedule. As an example, if your usual teaching and administrative load is 4 classes per semester, and you apply to pursue the NEH project half-time, your teaching schedule must be reduced to 2 classes per semester. Administrative loads and so forth should also be reduced accordingly. And the NEH stipend will be reduced in relationship to the percentage of time you're devoting to the NEH project. Also, while you do not need to complete the project during the period of the award, you should indicate to reviewers how and when the project will be completed once you have returned to your regular duties. Now let's take a look at the bibliography attachment. This attachment must not exceed 1 page. So what should you include in this 1-page attachment? The bibliography should likely include both primary and secondary sources that relate directly to the project. You can include works that pertain to both the project's substance and its theoretical or methodological approaches. Peer reviewers will use the bibliography to assess your knowledge of the subject area. If you are proposing work with archival materials, indicate which archives hold them. This slide pertains to the resume attachment, another required attachment. This attachment must not exceed 2 pages. I have a list here of information to include on these 2 pages. Your current and past positions, provide information about your education, listing degrees, dates these were awarded, titles of theses or dissertations. Include relevant awards and honors. If you've received any prior support from NEH, be sure to list these awards, the dates that you held them, and indicate any product that resulted, such as books or articles. You can also list other relevant professional activities and accomplishments, and include your level of competence in any relevant foreign languages. Here, once again, is a listing of the attachments that you will need to submit, and all the other application materials as well. Please be sure to refer to the Notice of Funding Opportunity, Section D, for full details on all of the attachments, as well as guidance on what each attachment should include. I discussed the required attachments in the preceding slides in some detail. NEH recommends the confirmation of institutional support be submitted at the time of application. This is a document that should be on letterhead confirming institutional support and signed by an institutional representative, such as staff in the Office of Sponsored Research, a vice president, or a dean. And it should indicate that your institution will allow you to accept an Awards for Faculty Fellowship if offered, even though it might reduce your teaching load. While NEH encourages you to submit this document at the time of application, if recommended for funding, you must submit it before NEH will issue an award. There are some additional conditionally required attachments, depending on your project and personal situation. You might need to submit these, or you might not. So check the NOFO. Applicants proposing additions, translations, database projects, proposals including visual materials, and proposals to improve existing undergraduate courses, for example, should submit additional materials. And these appendices should not exceed the page numbers per item, and all of that is provided in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Other conditionally required documents include the conferral of degree document or the explanation of delinquent federal debt. And please be sure, once again, to consult the NOFO for full details on all of these attachments. If you're missing any required or conditionally required attachments, your application will be declared incomplete and will not go through the review process. So if you have any questions about what you need to include in your application package, please don't hesitate to call or email program staff prior to the deadline, and we can help. Above, you'll see there are the links to the grants.gov forms, and we'll look at that a little bit in the next slide. This slide provides more information about those grants.gov forms, and some of the information you should have prepared as you begin filling out these web forms. You'll need, for example, a project summary and title for the form for federal assistance, SF-424 individual. I suggest you compose your abstract and title in advance of filling out the form so that you have it ready to go when you're preparing to submit the application package. And full details about titles and abstracts are available in the NOFO. You'll also need to have ready the contact information for 2 referees. You will enter these in the grants.gov supplemental information for individuals form. NEH will contact referees after the program deadline using the email addresses you have provided, so please be sure to enter these correctly. Also, be aware that you can and should monitor whether referees have submitted letters after the referee deadline. You'll receive a link to do so from NEH after you've submitted your application. Remember, NEH has a few policies of which you should be aware. NEH will not consider applications submitted after the deadline, even if it's just a minute or 2 late. Applications missing any required documents or conditionally required documents will be considered incomplete and will be rejected from further consideration. Applications that exceed page limits or violate formatting instructions will be considered non-responsive and will be rejected from further consideration. Thus, to reiterate, please pay close attention to the details. Include only attachments that are required or conditionally required in the NOFO. Follow the page limits, and call us if you have any questions prior to the deadline so we can answer any questions that you might have. So once you've written and compiled all of your attachments, saved them as PDFs, and checked your application package for completeness, page limits, and so forth, you're ready to submit your application package. Your application package must be submitted through grants.gov. A link to grants.gov and the application package, as you may recall from the opening slides, is on the program page on the NEH website. Even before you've started or completed the attachments, we encourage you to create a login.gov account and to also register with grants.gov. You must create a login.gov user account in order to register and log into grants.gov. Plan to do this at least a month before the program deadline. I'd even suggest doing it now to be sure that you are set up and ready to submit your application. After you create your login.gov user account and register with grants.gov, you must create an individual applicant profile in your grants.gov account. If you do not, the Apply button will not allow you to begin applying. To create an individual account, log into grants.gov, click on My Account, and then Manage Profiles. Here are some of the steps you'll need to go through as you submit your application. You can access the application package, as I mentioned previously, through a link on the program page, and the link takes you to grants.gov. Be sure to apply to the correct opportunity. So we have 3 programs in the Awards for Faculty program. There's an HSI opportunity as well as a TCU opportunity in addition to the HBCU opportunity. So you need to make sure that you submit your application to the correct opportunity, or your application will be considered ineligible. On the right of the screen, there's a screenshot on how the opportunities are listed. And you'll also see the red Apply button in the right-hand corner. Lastly, submit your application early to allow time for technical problems. Sometimes grants.gov gets very busy at the application deadline, and there might be a delay. Or you might forget to submit a required attachment or upload the wrong version of a document you've prepared. Give yourself plenty of time to check these details. Then check to see you've submitted correctly and that your application package is complete. You should receive several confirmation emails from grants.gov. Grants.gov will also notify you if your application has been rejected due to formatting issues, such as attachments that are not PDFs. Be aware, however, that you need to confirm the mandatory page limits and content of the attachments, as grants.gov will not alert you to problems in these areas. Therefore, allow additional time for this so you have time before the deadline to fix any problems you find and resubmit. Lastly, use the grants.gov helpline, 1-800-518-4726. Please remember, applications submitted after the deadline will not be reviewed, even if only by a minute or two, so get your applications in early. This screen summarizes some of the resources available to you as you prepare your application. Please see the program website link listed throughout the presentation, the program page, as this is where you'll find all of the materials discussed in the webinar, the notice of funding opportunity, sample applications, an FAQ, and a link where you can find information about previously funded projects. That's also where you will find the grant application package link. First and foremost, I urge you to read the full notice of funding opportunity. It's about 24 pages, but all of the materials that you need to submit are fully described in it. And the NOFO includes all of the other details, such as eligibility, deadlines, required attachments, page limits, the criteria, the review process, as well as instructions about how to submit your application to grants.gov. In fact, everything discussed today is described in detail in the NOFO. A reminder that staff encourage you to submit a draft narrative and work plan for staff feedback in advance of the deadline. These must be received no later than February 7th, 2024. Submit these to the Faculty Awards at NEH.gov email box, or we won't be able to look at them. Drafts are optional and they have no bearing on the review process. However, applicants have found the staff comments useful in the past. We'll do our best to get these back to you with our comments at least 10 days prior to the application deadline. A reminder that NEH staff are very happy to speak with you or correspond over email so we can answer any questions. Please reach out at the Faculty Awards at NEH.gov email box, or you can call us at 202-606-8200. Lastly, if you or your institution have questions about the terms and conditions for the program, you can find that information in the link provided at the bottom of this slide. Here is our last slide for the webinar on awards for faculty at HBCU's program. Please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions. You can reach me, my colleague Jacob Lusk, and my colleague Carson Sayre by emailing facultyawards@neh.gov, or you can phone the main number in the Division of Research at 202-606-8200. Don't forget that another way you can connect with us is in 2 live Q&A sessions planned for January 25th from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time and Tuesday, February 27th from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Please check the program page on the NEH website for any updates or changes to these dates and times, as well as to register for the Q&As. And we hope to see many of you there. We hope this webinar is informative and helpful to you. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see your applications.